Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital delivers Drew Cain Quartermain in the sanitarium after Willow Tate plunged a hype into his neck, causing a stroke. However, he may wind up at Willow's mercy, if he survives. We're going to talk about Drew getting an internee in his own body as a result of Willow's rearmost attack and how vulnerable he'll be to vengeance. General Hospital. Willow tries again. Willow's not intruding around. It was short twinkles after she was set up, not shamefaced of shooting Drew, that she tried again to unalive him. He was haunting their future when she aggressively fitted him. Willow caused him to have a massive stroke. Enough sure she was hoping to kill Drew. The medicine that I suppose she used, potassium chloride, is fluently accessible at hospitals. It's not a super secure medicine, it's just really worrisome at high boluses. It can mimic a stroke. It can beget cardiac arrest and brain damage, and high boluses can lead to aphasia and locked-in syndrome. Willow Tate's dangerous medical deception on General Hospital. From the moment Willow called 911, she's been playing the devoted woman who's upset sick about her hubby. When she got up to General Hospital, she explained that Drew collapsed and is acting so concerned. But Kai Taylor is right there, and he knows better because he knows she formerly tried to kill him formerly. Also, Lucas Jones mentioned that Drew could survive and might be a vegetable, or he could have locked in pattern. My cognizance perked up because that's what Ryan Chamberlain was diagnosed with in 2021 after he was picked in captivity and also had surgery and also was slow for a while. He recovered and also was faking it. I don't indeed know if he'd locked in at any point or was faking it the whole time, but we set up out in 2022 that Ryan had been faking it. That was when Esme Prince was also at Shady Brook and set up out Ryan was her pater. And that he really could talk. Drew Cain Quartermain as an internee in his own body, a twisted caretaker plot on GH. We know that our detergents love to repeat plots. However, that could be really intriguing because he'd be an internee in his own body, if they'd Drew with locked-in pattern. Willow would be the bone, likely taking care of him, which is kind of scary because she caused the stroke. With locked-in pattern or aphasia or both, Drew can't tell anybody that Willow did this. However, Willow would presumably have to watch for him at home because jilting him in an installation would look really suspicious, if he survived and is conscious but is locked in. Willow is a nanny, so everybody knows she has the skill set to take care of Drew after his stroke. Right now, Willow is pretending to be sad and spooked about Drew's collapse. Willow's playing the part of alarmed woman. Like it's her job and she's getting a stipend for it. She indeed made sure to precisely gutter the hype she used on Drew in one of those needle disposable boxes at General Hospital so it couldn't be tied back to her. The real problem comes if Drew survives, because I do suppose Willow completely intended to kill him. But she had to call 911 so she'd look innocent. And also the Croakers turn around and save despicable Drew's life. Now Willow may end up in a really crooked situation where Drew is principally her internee in their home and can't stop her. Dark Willow goes full nanny ratchet. The torment of Drew Cain. She could go full nanny ratchet on him. Flashback: the crazy nanny from One Flew Over the Ditz's Nest? I'm sure that Willow would absolutely detest having to take care of Drew because, as I said, I suppose Willow completely intended to kill Drew. But she wants her kitties back, and of course, she doesn't want to go to jail for another attack on him. The good news for Willow is she may look sympathetic to a guardianship judge since she was set up not shamefaced and is now caretaking Drew. It looks like it's out of love and concern. But I also suppose Willow will look for some vengeance for Drew controlling and manipulating her for so long. Just suppose of all the numbers he pulled, like paying off the lady at the clinic in Germany to say Michael Corinthos didn't want to see Willow. Drew purposefully set it up so Wiley Quartermain Corinthos would hear him saying that Michael didn't want him or Amelia Grace Corinthos presently because he'd baby Daisy. And of course, there was Drew luring Willow and trashing her marriage to Michael. Willow surely wants some vengeance, and killing him hasn't worked out now doubly. What Drew pulled with Wiley in particular was really, really low, and her little boy was so worried. Why Willow Tate wants dark vengeance on General Hospital also. No way. Forget Drew slept with Willow's mama, Nina Reeves, while Willow was falling for him and he didn't tell her. that each came out at their marriage the bone. That didn't take place. There's just so important general atrociousness about Drew. I could surely see Willow being floored at first to be wedged caregiving Drew, but also she realizes, oh, I can make Drew suffer. I can get some revenge. Death would have been too quick. I can do commodity much worse. Since Willow has gone super dark these days, I do suppose she'd afflict Drew if she was stuck taking care of him. That would be similar air because as obsessed as he's with Willow, if Drew has locked in pattern and can't move or speak, he could still hear and completely understand her. I suppose Willow would tell Drew what she really thinks of him and what she's done. Willow's dark occasion to torture Drew. I could see Willow confessing that she shot him and just tried to kill him again. Drew wouldn't be suitable to do anything. He couldn't tell anybody. He couldn't indeed reply. He'd have to sit there and just suffer knowing that Willow hates him enough to try and kill him, not formally, but doubly. She can torture Drew and make him miserable in his own home, and not just with words. Willow could pinch him, poke him, stick him with needles, or shock him. She could go full Nellie Benson. She could medicine Drew and knock him out anytime she wants. Willow could indeed try and kill Drew again while he's helpless and under her control. Long term, Willow could transport Drew off to a care installation. After having him at home for a while, Willow could say that she really can't give Drew the compass of care he needs. Or, Willow could hire caretakers and bring in a nanny with a dodgy character. One of those angel of mercy types. That way, Willow would have a goat if she cured Drew and killed him. Alexis Davis confronts Willow over Drew's stroke and Scout's future. We know this week Alexis Davis confronts Willow and says, "It's stylish if Scout Cain comes to live with me." Alexis is going to tell Willow, "I know you shot Drew, and I suspect you also did this to him." If Alexis says, "Look, give me Scout, and I'll keep it zipped. I'll keep both your dirty secrets," I go that Willow will agree. She cares about Scout, but in the end, Willow's main focus is getting back her own kitties. Plus, if Scout's with Alexis, that'll give Willow a lot further openings to mess with Drew when he can't defend himself. That's air for real because he wanted Willow all to himself and now he's got it and may lament it. You know that saying, be careful what you wish for. In the end, if they do give him locked in pattern, I suppose they will completely repeat the Ryan plot. It may turn out that at some point he recovers his capability to move and to speak. Also, he can take his own revenge on Willow when the occasion presents itself. I suppose this is going to twist around a couple of different ways. I'm agitated to see what happens. We're into February sweeps starting coming week, and I suppose that's when effects are really going to pick up in an intriguing way for Willow and Drew. General Hospital spoilers reveal that Kirsten Storms has verified she's returned to GH and is back at work, so Maxie's coma awakening is ahead. It won't be long until Maxie opens her eyes and reunites with her favored bones. So GH observers are eager to see the coming chapter of her story. On Instagram, Storms posted a print of herself at a glass next to some cards with uplifting expressions and left suckers pleased over some positive updates. The GH star took a leave of absence and moved to Tennessee with her son, Harper, during her time off, but Storms offered evidence that she's been at the plant rephotographing again. Smash. 2026 formerly that was presto, Storms said. Back at work. Seriously missing my bug however. California doesn't feel right without her then. Of course, this lines up with 2026 exercise word, which formerly verified Maxie would indeed get a wake-up call soon. Maxie's family and musketeers have been staying long enough, so some good news is headed their way. Once Maxie emerges from her coma, she'll have a chance to see her kitties again and catch up on everything she's missed. Naturally, the biggest stunner that happened while Maxie was slow involves the return of her presumed dead hubby. Nathan West is alive, so Maxie's in for a giant shock when she eventually sees him again. It'll be intriguing to see Maxie's response to Nathan being back in the picture. Maxie may contend that's insolvable at first, but she'll inescapably find out about the fingerprints and DNA match. James West may admit he's been getting to know his pater. And leave Maxie reeling over all this information. Once Maxie looks in Nathan's eyes for herself, Will she know in her heart it's her husband or still have dubieties? Maxie's true passions could be a hint about where this plot is headed, so we'll keep you posted on what's coming up. However, Damien Spinelli may end up agonized if Maxie believes this Nathan is the real deal and lets herself fall for him formerly more. General Hospital spoilers say Maxie will wake up to a messy love life, so don't miss all the chaos that's in store for her. The halls of General Hospital were eerily quiet that morning, a deceptive calm that masked the chaos about to erupt. Cain Quartermain had been rushed into the ER, and the cause of his sudden collapse was as shocking as it was chilling. His wife, Willow Tate, had plunged a syringe into his neck. The consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Drew suffered a massive stroke. As doctors scrambled to stabilize him, the residents of Port Charles found themselves facing a nightmarish scenario. Drew, a man once known for his cunning and manipulations, was now potentially trapped in his own body, at the mercy of the very woman who had orchestrated his downfall. Willow's actions were deliberate, cold, and calculated. Only moments after the courtroom declared her not guilty of the previous attack on Drew, she attempted to finish what she had started. Drew had been celebrating, perhaps even daring to hope for a future together, when Willow's aggression shattered that illusion. The syringe she wielded contained a potent agent, likely potassium chloride, a chemical that could mimic a stroke while simultaneously wreaking havoc on the heart and brain. At high doses, it could cause irreversible damage, cardiac arrest, aphasia, even the terrifying prospect of locked-in syndrome. From the moment Willow dialed 911, her performance was flawless. She played the devoted wife with unnerving precision, projecting worry and despair. The doctors, nurses, and hospital staff witnessed her concern, none suspecting that behind her teary eyes lay a calculating mind. Kai Taylor, however, was not fooled. He knew Willow's history, remembered her prior attempt on Drew's life, and watched her every move with cautious eyes. Lucas Jones, too, speculated on Drew's possible outcomes: survival with profound impairment, perhaps even locked-in syndrome, a fate that would render him a prisoner within his own body. The parallels were immediate and haunting. Ryan Chamberlain had once faced a similar diagnosis, supposedly trapped in a body unable to respond after a violent attack in prison. While Ryan's condition later proved to be partly feigned, the echoes of that storyline in Drew's current situation could not be ignored. A man fully conscious yet unable to speak, to move, to call for help, entirely dependent on the mercy of someone whose motives were far from pure. In Drew's case, the horror was compounded by proximity and betrayal. Should he survive, the person most likely to oversee his recovery, to manage his every movement, administer his medications, and monitor his every response, would be Willow. The irony was cruel. The same woman who had caused his stroke would now hold the keys to his survival. Willow, trained as a nurse, possessed the skills to care for him meticulously, yet her skill set doubled as a tool for manipulation and vengeance. At present, she feigned concern, masking her dark intentions beneath a carefully curated veil of grief. She even disposed of the syringe in a hospital sharps container, leaving no trace of her treachery, a move that only heightened the menace of the situation. For Drew, the stroke was more than a medical crisis, it was a transformation into a silent prisoner. Should the worst-case scenario manifest, he would be conscious, aware, and completely immobile, unable to communicate with the world. His only link to reality, terrifyingly, would be the person who sought his demise. Willow's dual role as caretaker and perpetrator created a scenario that was as psychologically complex as it was terrifying. Every touch, every word from her lips could be laced with subtle threats or cruel taunts, and Drew would have no way to respond. Willow's own motivations were tangled with obsession, vengeance, and maternal ambition. She had been manipulated by Drew in countless ways, from seduction to psychological games, and she had been wronged at nearly every turn. Drew's interference in her relationships, his betrayal with her mother Nina Reeves, and the cruel games he had played with her son Wiley had all fueled a growing, dangerous darkness within her. Willow's failed attempts at killing Drew were not mere acts of passion, they were calculated measures of retribution, carefully weighed against potential consequences. Now, the potential for revenge was literal and terrifying. Locked-in syndrome or severe aphasia could transform Drew into a vessel for Willow's fury. He would hear her every word, feel every deliberate action, yet remain powerless to resist. The stage was set for Willow to exact psychological torment with precision, a slow-burning vengeance far more effective than death. Unlike the sudden finality of a syringe, this method promised prolonged suffering, Drew's awareness intact, his body unresponsive, his mind fully cognizant of every cruel twist inflicted by the woman he had once trusted. This scenario mirrored the most suspenseful soap plots, a recurrence of the familiar but twisted in new, disturbing ways. Locked-in syndrome has been used before as a narrative device to trap a character, to render them at the mercy of a villain or morally ambiguous figure. In Drew's case, the device was not just for suspense, it was a psychological crucible, a high-stakes game of manipulation, power, and retribution. Willow could speak to him directly, confess to her crimes, taunt him with every betrayal he had committed, and inflict mental anguish that no healthy man should endure. The danger extended beyond the hospital walls. Should Drew recover, should he remain under Willow's roof, she would continue to wield control in subtle, insidious ways. Careful dosing of medications, deliberate delays in physical therapy, minor but persistent acts of emotional cruelty, every measure a brushstroke in a larger portrait of vengeance. Her methods could include physical provocation, manipulation of his environment, or even repeat attempts at lethal harm, all while maintaining an appearance of the loving spouse to the outside world. To anyone observing, she would be the dutiful wife. To Drew, she could be a modern Nurse Ratched, a relentless orchestrator of torment, capable of cruelty and deception at every turn. Alexis Davis's role became pivotal in this dark landscape. Confronting Willow about Drew's condition and Scout's safety, Alexis positioned herself as a mediator and protector. She advocated for Scout to live with her, recognizing that Drew's incapacitation and Willow's volatile behavior made direct exposure risky for the child. Yet Alexis' intervention also created a double-edged sword. While securing Scout's safety, it also provided Willow with greater opportunity to torment Drew without oversight. Alexis' awareness of Willow's culpability and her tacit control over Scout's placement gave Willow both incentive and freedom to continue her calculated cruelty, all under the guise of maternal care. Meanwhile, the ripple effects extended to the extended Quartermain and Morgan families. The revelation of Drew's stroke, coupled with Willow's duplicitous nature, forced each family member to navigate a treacherous terrain of secrecy, loyalty, and suspicion. Decisions had to be made quickly, medical updates, visitation rights, and the legal ramifications of prior attacks on Drew were all under scrutiny. Every interaction, every phone call, and every casual remark held potential consequences. In a town as interconnected as Port Charles, no secret stayed buried for long. For Drew, the future was terrifyingly uncertain. Locked within his own body, he might witness firsthand the vengeance of a woman he had wronged. He could hear the confessions of the attack, the muttered justifications, and the cruel taunts, all without the ability to respond. The psychological strain alone was a potent form of punishment, a slow unraveling of the mind and spirit. Yet, in classic soap fashion, this dark scenario also contained a seed of hope, the possibility that Drew could regain his faculties, recover speech and mobility, and eventually turn the tables. The narrative potential for reversal, redemption, and counter-revenge was as potent as the immediate threat, keeping viewers on the edge of their seats. Adding to the tension, Willow's actions reflected a broader pattern of manipulation and deceit. From interfering in her relationships to exploiting her professional expertise as a nurse, she had consistently leveraged knowledge, trust, and opportunity to shape outcomes in her favor. Her previous attempt to kill Drew, her strategic calls to 911, and her meticulous disposal of evidence demonstrated not just malice but meticulous planning. Each act served to heighten the stakes, making the potential for long-term psychological torment all the more credible and frightening. In parallel, General Hospital maintained the interwoven drama of other characters, reminding viewers that chaos never exists in isolation. Maxie Jones awakening from her coma, the return of presumed dead Nathan West, and the ripple effects of these reunions added additional layers of complexity. Relationships, trust, and loyalties were all in flux, creating a narrative environment where even small decisions could trigger catastrophic consequences. Drew's plight, situated within this larger ecosystem of drama, served as both a focal point and a catalyst for further storytelling. The psychological and narrative stakes converged in ways that only daytime television could fully explore. Drew's incapacitation created a tableau of suspense, ethical ambiguity, and moral peril. Willow's dual role as aggressor and caretaker amplified the tension, ensuring that every interaction carried weight, danger, and the potential for explosive revelation. As the story unfolded, viewers were invited to contemplate not only Drew's survival and recovery but also the intricate dynamics of revenge, justice, and human frailty. This arc also allowed the writers to revisit familiar narrative devices, the incapacitated protagonist, the manipulative caretaker, and the ever-present threat of escalation, while infusing them with fresh psychological intensity. Locked-in syndrome, aphasia, and controlled caregiving created an unprecedented narrative pressure cooker, one that relied not on external violence alone but on the interplay of awareness, helplessness, and psychological dominance. As February sweeps approached, the tension promised to escalate even further. Drew's potential recovery, Willow's continued influence, and the responses of allies such as Alexis, Lucas, and Kai all suggested a maelstrom of conflict, intrigue, and high-stakes emotion. Each plotline intersected with the others, creating a lattice of suspense that demanded careful attention and anticipation from viewers. Finally, the story reinforced a core tenet of soap opera drama: every action has consequence, every choice reverberates, and every secret, no matter how carefully hidden, carries the potential to explode in the most unexpected ways. Willow's descent into darkness, Drew's potential helplessness, and the moral dilemmas faced by those around them created a gripping tableau, ensuring that audiences would remain riveted as the saga of betrayal, revenge, and survival continued to unfold in Port Charles. In conclusion, Cain Quartermain's situation represents one of the most intense and psychologically complex storylines in recent General Hospital history. From the immediate medical crisis to the looming threat of psychological torment at Willow's hands, the narrative combines high-stakes drama, ethical ambiguity, and the intricate interplay of love, obsession, and revenge. Viewers are left on edge, contemplating the fragile line between survival and suffering, justice and vengeance, hope and despair, all within the unique, ever-shifting world of daytime television.